Okay, today we're looking at the markets for the pullbacks and the amounts of percentage levels, and we've talked about some of these in previous tutorials. Let's just go take a look at our first top here, and we're just going to have a look at our time frames. So the major part of this maneuver happened in 4 and 5 months and continued in a sideways channel here up to the 11th and 12th month before we had a change in trend. And those lows came in at the low 90s, and that's a very significantly high amount of a pullback. We haven't seen those types of drawbacks in Bitcoin. So looking forward now, we have a metric of 12 and 13 months, or 12 months mainly, with a big pullback in the 4th and 5th month. This metric is again 90% or just over. Let's go ahead and measure moving forward what we could see from these lows. From this low here, our top was 25 months and it extended out to 31 and 32 months here. And we had an accumulated move of about, the 50 to 60,000%. And we've never seen those types of returns again. Same with this maneuver up here, which would have been a much greater increase. So looking at our lows, we know that the market needs to be making tops around the 25th, 26th month, and as far out as the 32, 33 months. Let's go ahead now and take a look at what this pullback was from these tops, because this will give us a good forward indication of what we could expect as well moving forward. So the market made a major low 13 months after the major top, and that low came in, well, it was around an 83% pullback, which seems again in line with our first maneuver, which was 93%, so losing 10% on this one. Also noting that it carried on from that top up to 20 months. So that's a metric we do need to watch out for. Let's just take it from this area here at our second lower top, just so that we can be aware of what we could expect. Most of the energy subsided after 6 months. However, we've been stating that most of these markets take around 12, 13, and 14 months to subside before distribution has completed and the new market begins. From these areas here, we're going to take our lows and measure it up to our tops. Let's go ahead and do that. And let's just make this a little bigger so that we can get a better look at it. So from our major low here, we're going to be looking out 27 or 25 and 26 and 27 months. And this one actually subsided around the 28th month. And we've also got to watch out for around the 32, 33, 34, and 35 months, which we can see we had lower tops inside this down moving channel here. So let's just pay attention to that. And this move up from that low was 11,000%. Again, we've not seen Bitcoin do that in the last couple of cycles. So let's continue on here. We're going to take our top here, and we're going to just measure out again. So most of the move down the energy subsided around 6 months. And again, we've been talking about this 12, 13, and 14 months. This one kept going into the 15th month. And from there, we had an accumulative again 82%. So something to watch for. Let's go ahead now and let's make our next maneuver here. And we're gonna just go from our major low here, right here, sorry. So again, we're looking for our 27 and 26 month, and sure enough, we subsided around the 28th month. This market continued on into the 32, 33, 34, and 35 months and had a move up of around 2,000%. So that's very significant. We haven't seen those in our last few cycles here. So looking at that, let's measure down from our top here. So 12, 13 months, and then the turnaround. And it went into the 14th month before the change really took place. On that low, we came down about 78%, which seems again in line with our previous models, not quite as significant. So let's now go ahead and let's take a look at this model here, and we're going to look for our moves up. Again, we're looking for around the 25, 26, 27 month area, and sure enough we have that. And to pull out further into the 32, 33, 34, and our 35th month, where we would see a low or a top take place. And in all of these past cycles, they've all been within a week of each other, so 1,060, 1,065 therein, right, or 35 months here, or 34 months, whichever you want to call it. And we've had a move up of 851%. So we do have diminishing returns over the moves. So let's go ahead and let's just look into the future a little bit here now, and let's calibrate ourselves for what we can see moving forward. Off of our October top, where I told you the market would make top, bring this down to about 126 level. That's 124. Sorry, it just doesn't seem to want to do that properly. Okay, so after about 4, 5, and 6 months, most of the energy subsides, but we still have our 10, 11, and 12, or sorry, our 12 and 13 month. So 12 months brings us to October, and I've been stating this quite a few times that we need to see a low come in around this October and possibly push into November and December. But I'm expecting something to happen really around this, September and October, where we would see the 12 month. Let's go take a look at what we can see for, say, a 77% pullback here would bring us down to about 27 or 28, and that is conjunct 126 here. So 126, and there's 28 and 27. So that's definitely in line. And as I stated to you in previous tutorials, the markets, when they made tops, say at 69 here, it swung back 2 circles of 360 and a 90-degree angle when we sat down here at 15,000. Are we going to see the same thing? Well, right now we're down 1.5 cycles of turns on the square here for a price of 61, where we made a low so far at 59. For this to continue on, we would need to see a low somewhere around this 25 to 23 area. Let's just continue to see what an 82% percent level would look like. Well, an 82% level would take us down to the 22 level here. And a 93%, which I do not feel we will do. I definitely feel we will not be hitting this 90 and 92% level. For sure, that's my overall gut feeling that we will not be doing that. That's and again, it is conjunct here, 126, but I don't feel we will be moving back quite that far. However, being a market master and a financial analyst here, going over these charts, it could happen, but my thesis is for us to maintain somewhere around this 82%, which would be a 23,000 level from 126. And that would fit my previous models perfectly, as well as this 77 and is 72 as well. You know, we could certainly see that. You know, a 77 would bring us right to 28, and like I said, that's conjunct 126. So these percentage levels and these moves in time, I believe, are linked. I believe that we're diminishing the amount of moves up in percentage levels. So this one was around an 800% level. Not that I'm saying we're going to do 800% going back up, but let's just say let's just take it down from our first metric at around 28, just to kind of give us something to start with. So an 800% level up would bring us into the 250,000 level, which I have called for in previous tutorials, going back that our next metric could amount to that height up. However, when we put a trend line on this market, we see that we've been getting a reading that would bring us up to the 150, 180 level here. And is that what will happen? Well, it's very possible and likely, because we're calling for a 35-month move up from the low here. And if that were to occur, well, the first tops would be coming in roughly around the December 28, and we would be moving into the June, July, and August period of 2029. And that brings us to about 180,000 in that area. So I just wanted to point that out. You know, we have a current trend line that's moving up here, and it's, you know, it's showing us that we could essentially get into this area here. I know I've moved it up a little bit, but this 200, 180, 200 to 250,000 seems to be an area where we could see something. Let's just tighten this up and move this up and see what we would get there. Well, this intersects here with our upper trend line here in February 2029 at the low 200 level. So this does point to a point in time where these two converge, and we would see some type of topping pattern in this area. So I wanted to go over the chart and how the history of Bitcoin has presented these lows and these tops. Now that seems quite far out analytically speaking, but from the past models, you know, and I've been told many times that I was wrong with our top when I was in Mexico several years back with my daughter, and I said that we were at a top, and I was getting some very significant hate on the fact that I called the top in that area. You guys, you know, you got to be careful of the hype out there. You know, we've got to follow history models to keep us in line. Otherwise, we get distracted by the media and the moon boys and the people trying to get us to buy into the market when it's starting to show topping patterns and a weakness. And of course, everyone got clobbered in that last campaign moving downward, just got totally clobbered. And I was stating that we would be making a bottom, and if you go back and look at my tutorials, I stated we would be making a bottom in that November, December, and January period, which is our 12, 13, and 14 month period, and we nailed it. And it's just, history is rhyming or repeating, and if we look at history, you know, we have these events that occur simultaneously in line with the previous campaigns. So I wanted to point that out. And then remember, I called this top here again because it's 1,067 days or 1,065 days, and I've been stating that. I made those assessments back when we made our low. I was already telling you that we would be having tops at certain points here when we did our halving event. Especially when we did our halving event, I was talking about these movements that we would be seeing, you know, our tops take place at certain periods. So just looking at that, I was stating that, you know, our first tops would come around the 5 and 6 and 7th month. Then the next would be a 10, 11, and 12. And then the last ones would be 17, 18, and 19 months. And that is precisely what did happen. And looking at our next halving event coming up here, we would expect those same metrics to occur yet again. So I used the halving event and I used the extreme lows to find this top here, and both of them confirmed that top. So this was not too difficult to ascertain. However, it was I received a lot of negative messages regarding how the market worked, and I just want to let you guys know that a lot of the times when you find market matches where they, you know, our halving event runs out the same as our extreme low events in timing, you know, it just gives us a signal. And right now I'm receiving a lot of well, nobody likes to hear that their asset or their stock is going to go down, and I face this numerous times. But the reality is the market needs to have a pullback and a bear campaign to subside all the overbuying here through this market, and when it needs to reset. So that in mind, we're looking out at this, well, it could come as soon as September, but it's definitely going to be in the October, November, and December period before this market gets grip again and we start to make a move back up into these late part or the mid part of 2029, where I'm stating that somewhere around June, July, and August of 2029, the top will come in again. The same as this top, the same as this top here, and our bear campaigns are going to be similar. 12, 13, and 14 months. So that's what I have for you today. I just wanted to show you this on my trading view chart, which shows the historical values a lot better than my BTCC chart, which I typically use as well, but it doesn't show you quite as far back with the history of Bitcoin. So with that in mind, I wanted to bring you up to speed and let you know that right now we're in a bull trap, and this is I think it's a sucker rally in my perspective and my opinion of this market. I believe that that's exactly what's going on. We have this breakout attempt here on these old tops here, right in this channel here, and right now we are pushing up to this low bottom here at 79 in November, where I told you that we would be making a low. So if I move our pointer here to October 5th, the first 45 degree angle is November 21st right here. So this goes perfectly in line with how the square works with timing. So I drew a very strong trend line up here underneath the bottoms, and if we break this, then it's Humpty Dumpty and we're back down. Let's go now take a look at the indicators, because they help us to determine. So we've had some white distribution bars here showing that we have a topping pattern. Further to that, in this, I'm going to show you what I mean by the energy of this market has subsided back in May of 2025 here, where we were talking about these tops that were going to happen when our channel was interviewed by Crypto Explained Easy by Jordan. And I put a trend line down. Sorry, that's probably in the way of the square. So back in May, I was stating between the 19th and the 23rd to watch Bitcoin, and we have not made it above this area with this MACD. And you can see that it's perfectly held it. And here we've just slightly broke above this now and are pushing on this top here. Are we about to see the end of this channel? I think we're really close. I keep saying that we're going to be moving down. You can see that I've kept my my arrow here, even though I was wrong with the move down around this April 4th. This is 180 days, or 360 from the low at 74, and this is 180 from our top at 126,000. So I expected a change in trend, and sure enough, we've had another sucker rally or bull trap develop. And I think that I'm still of the analysis that our move will come back into these areas here, and we do need to see something like that for a bottom. I just don't feel that we've reached a bottom. Let's go have a look at our next, the RSI. Again, looking at the RSI, the topping pattern came in around the May, where the energy of this, again, on this indicator, again, as well as the MACD, topped out, and we have had a substantial move down, and our trend line has captivated it. We've moved up and broke out, and we're testing this topping pattern here in the RSI. So again, we've had a rapid move up to our downward trend line, and we're just getting above it here. Looks like it's possible turnaround. Let's go take a look at stochastic. Again, moving back into 2025, into that May period here. We were talking about this topping pattern appearing, and we are sitting on this same metric right now. Let's just open it up a little bit. And you can see we are currently curling and about to maybe break this, possibly break this. It's a very high possibility, and that we start to move down into this area of the chart here with this leading and lagging indicator, which I think we're still going to be moving out. Well, I'd say most of the energy will subside somewhere around into this May, June, and July area. But June for sure. I really expect something significant to happen there off of our last tops here. So that's what I have for you today, looking at our indicators. I added an extra one. This is the momentum. And our momentum's up at the top of these previous moves. And I want to shrink this down so that we can just discuss it a little better. So the median height for this market has been around here for the momentum indicator. And you can see that we have come back up and addressed this area. And if we take a strong trend line here and attach that on here, we can see that it's possible that we come down, break this, and move down rapidly, should we lose the channel that we've been talking about in Bitcoin, which is right here. And of course, this is our bars pattern here, and I put this on here to show you that, you know, we're in very similar rhyming with this market in this channel, and if we do not break out above this and get above this underbelly here, we're going to have a big move down here in the chart, and I'm expecting to see something like that based on history and the time frames that we've been talking about. So that's what I have for you today, and I just wanted you to be aware that this is possibly, again, another sucker rally or bull market or bear market rally, and you need to be very careful because the whales and the big boys, they're looking for your Bitcoin. So if we break this trend line, it's going to be a big move down, and somewhere down into this 40 level here is where we're expecting this next resistance level. Now remember, these resistance levels where prices has come back into this has been around the 70 level, which is right here on our longitude of our chart. Well, actually 70 is right here. 71, 72, the second circle. 72 is here on the square. So our next metric is stating somewhere around this 49 to 40 level here. And if we take the first ring at 360 and say 36, this 41 is, and 42 is conjunct Uranus. We have also 46 and 47 conjunct Jupiter. So this states to me that we have a very large possibility to be moving into these areas. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial today, just pointing out some past moves. Be sure to like, subscribe, and we'll get back to you with some more information as we feel that this market is getting ready for a rollover with this fake out sucker rally. So be really careful here, brothers and sisters. Peace and love.